Welcome back, everybody, to the Dependent Fanatic channel. I am the Dependent Fanatic, and what a week of college football we had this week. North Carolina loses. USC loses. There was another undefeated team. Penn State lost. Only 2 undefeated teams lost this week. So there are still 9 undefeateds in the FBS. And not all of them are on this list. Some are a group of 5 and whatnot. But this is my power ranking going into week 9. So here we go. Michigan. There's no reason that Michigan should not be number 1. They are the best team. I know they haven't played anybody. And I know that we are about to play some really good teams. But eye test tells me, I look around the country and I see other teams struggling with bad teams, and Michigan is dominating every team that they play. They're giving up 41 points. They're getting 41 points per game, only giving up 5.9 precisely points per game. And the only one double-digit game that they gave up, and that was at Minnesota, and the rest are 6s and 7s. That's what we give up on defense. Michigan has a bye week this week, which is a good time, a great time, I think. We really don't have any injuries, so we don't need the rest, and I don't want to get rusty. So coming out of the bye week is Purdue before we have the 3-game ending to the season that everyone knew was coming. At Penn State, at Maryland, and Ohio State. So, Michigan's dominating people by 35 points per game each game on average, only giving up 227 yards per game. J.J. McCarthy, arguably the best quarterback in the nation for a team. You know, he's the perfect fit at that institution, kind of like Caleb Williams for USC. You don't have a defense, you need an electric quarterback. So Michigan doesn't need that. He is the perfect guy for Michigan. And then the offensive line, of course, we know Blake Corum. Donovan Edwards has not gotten on track yet, but I think he will coming up. I was listening to Doug Skeen, and he was talking about we're this close from breaking some bigger runs. The offensive line is. Just a little bit more work needs to be done. Michigan has a bye week this week. Number 2 is Georgia. They had a bye week last week. They are dominating people as well, really, if you look at the statistics. You know, each individual game is a different story, but they're getting 40 points per game and only giving up 14. They're getting 509 yards per game and only giving up 263. Brock Bowers is gone now for the remainder of the season, at least till postseason is what I hear, and that is going to hurt them. But next man up. Next man up. And that's another thing for Michigan that goes in their favor is everyone's seniors. Everyone knows what their role is. The experience, that matters in these playoff appearances. From what I've seen going years past, that's why Michigan lost the last 2. But number 3, I said that Ohio State looked pretty good to me. So cover your ears, Michigan fans, if you don't want to hear this. But Number 3 is Ohio State, 7-0. They beat Penn State 22-12. By the way, Georgia has Florida next week. It'll be interesting at Florida, and then Florida's 5-2 team. So we'll see. Georgia's only really good win, only winning team against the Power 5 is Kentucky so far. So ask them who have they played. And then, but you don't have to ask Ohio State who they played. They went on the road, beat Notre Dame. They had Penn State at home and beat them. Kind of out-physicaled Penn State, which was surprising to me. I said after that game, did a live reaction, I might put it up in the card, but they have to be a top 4 team after that performance. They're getting 34 points per game and giving up 10 points per game. The offense is predicated on Marvin Harrison Jr., really. The running game against Penn State did just enough to keep the offense balanced, in my opinion, which is what wins in college football. You have to be balanced, and that's why Ohio State cannot win the bigger games the last couple of seasons because of the offensive line. But they looked to be improving. But the thing that really stuck out to me is Ohio State's defense. Aller is a young quarterback, and yes, it was his first time on the road in a hostile environment as a starting quarterback, and Ohio State took advantage of that. So they're really good. JTT, they got the players that are going to go pro on defense. They have a coach in Jim Knowles that has proven to get better year after year when he's at an institution. Last year was not so good, but this year is vastly improved for Ohio State's defense. They are at Wisconsin, who is a 5-2 team this upcoming week. They moved up 4 spots for me from last week. Down 1 spot because of that is Florida State. They are 7-0. They beat Duke 38-0. I didn't get to watch as much of that game as I wanted to because it was on the same time as the Michigan State drubbing. But I heard that Riley Leonard got hurt after, I think he came back. That was his first game back, and then he got hurt. It was a close game when he was there. But Florida State beat Duke 38-20. And, they're giving up 19 points per game defensively, but they're scoring 42 so far through 7 games. Their next game is at Wake Forest. Down 1 spot as well this time at number 5 this week is Oklahoma. They are 7-0. Listen, they survived UCF. If UCF didn't do that kind of trickery at the end for their 2-point conversion and just got 2 points, it would have went to overtime, and who knows what would have happened there. Thank your lucky stars that you won that game, Oklahoma. Points per game is good, 43, and they're only giving up 16. It's no 6 like from Michigan, but these schedules are the difference, really. How can you tell how good a team is if they haven't played anybody? But you have to look at the individual games, and I watched a lot of this game, and Oklahoma's defense didn't look very good in this game. Any given Saturday, they moved down 1 spot for me. At Kansas is their next game, and then they are 5-2. At number 6 is Texas, the team that lost to Oklahoma, and that's their only loss. Head-to-head does matter in my power ranking. In the resume ranking, not so much. You saw, maybe if you didn't see, in the resume ranking, Alabama is ahead of Texas by 1 spot, even though Texas beat Alabama. Sometimes that ranking doesn't make sense to me, but it's a valuable tool on who actually has the best resume, who has the best body of work so far. So Texas is number 6. They won a close game as well at Houston, 31-24. They have BYU next, and they are a 5-2 team, but it's at home for Texas. Up 1 spot from number 8 last week is Alabama. They are number 7 this week, 7-1. They beat Tennessee 34-20. It was a 27-0 second half performance by them. They're only getting 31 points per game, and the defense is giving up 17, but they are starting to figure this thing out, and they have played great teams. So the yards per game could be a lot better, 367. And defensive yards per game, only 306. So they're winning that battle by 61 yards on average in every game. They have a bye week coming up this week to kind of resolve some of them issues. Down 3 spots from last week is Penn State. They are number 8. Hey, the only thing they did lost to Ohio State, 20-12. A very good Ohio State team, defense and an electric wide receiver. These two teams were evenly matched. Like Joe Klatt said on the broadcast, the one difference is Marvin Harrison Jr. And actually, it could have been 2 differences if Emeka Egbuka played, but we're not talking about injuries, Ohio State people. Next man up. Number 9, Penn State has Indiana next week, a 2-5 team at home, so should be no problem there. Number 9 stays the same from last week for me, Washington, a 7-0 team. They survived Arizona State. They were down 7-3 for the longest time and then scored 12 unanswered points versus Arizona State. They are getting 40 points per game still on average. And defensively, they're giving up 19, though. That's why they're down at number 9. 19 points per game is a lot. When going up against, if you go up against a better defense than they have and a better offense, it's going to be closer. That's just, it doesn't have to be said. That's a no-brainer there. They're at Stanford, 2-5 team. They win, no problems. Number 10 is the team that they beat, Oregon, 6-1. They handled Washington State 38-24, and they're getting 47 points per game and only giving up 17 points per game. So that's a 30-point differential right there. They lead the entire nation in yards per game with 553. But they give up 313 yards per game defensively. They are at Utah this week, which is going to be a huge game. They are 6-1. And the honorable mention, of course, I have to do a couple more honorable mentions here. Oregon's number 10, but Notre Dame's no longer number 11. That is Utah. And they will play Oregon this week. Utah is 6-1, and they won at USC 34-32 on a last-second field goal, an epic game. Their 3rd time beating them in the last 2 seasons. I can't remember if they beat them the year before that or not, but it's getting pretty ridiculous for USC. Maybe they are excited to join the Big Ten and not deal with Utah anymore. But they have Oregon next week, 6-1. Cam Rising apparently is done for the season, is what I heard on that broadcast. He said he was done. So that really hurts Utah for this season. Is he deciding to go pro, or is he deciding to get healthy and come back for next season for Utah? That'll be interesting to see. And then Notre Dame is the next honorable mention. 6-2. They had a bye. They have Pitt next week. Their only losses are to Ohio State and Louisville, but they have beaten USC as well, just like Utah did. So there you have it. The top 10 power ranking for Dependent Fanatic is number 1, Michigan. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3 is Ohio State. Number 4 is Florida State. I think Ohio State would beat Florida State. Number 5 is Oklahoma. We saw that matchup in a bowl game last year, and Florida State won. And Oklahoma beat Texas, so they are number 6. Number 7, Alabama. Texas beat Alabama. Number 8 is Penn State. I think Alabama would beat Penn State. Number 9 is Washington. I think Penn State would beat Washington. And then number 10 is Oregon. And we all saw Washington beat Oregon. So they're top 10 in the college football power ranking for Dependent Fanatic. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you made it all the way this far, you might as well like the button. push that button and like the video, and have a great, great night out there, everybody, and day, whatever time you watch this. Have a great day. Go Blue, though. They're number one.